That is true. This is all new.
Yeah,
It's all new. In person.
'cause
No cuts.
we've done every podcast with 3 people, and now it's just me and you.
Dude, it was weird because I just showed up. I just showed up and it's just like, oh, I hope all these people know me. So
So how did you end up here?
how did I end up here? I met Tamara through Powerlifting American Nationals and bench nationals in Austin, and she liked my work ethic. She invited me back here in Reno. You remember back in March
Yeah.
for Open Nationals, and then since then they offered me a job here. And at the time, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna apply for fire department in Dallas."
I've totally forgot you were gonna do that.
Dude, right? Like that was a whole arc that never
Yeah,
happened. It
that
was
was-
like it's like cut content.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I got here because my brother moved to Arkansas, and it's too expensive to live as a single guy with a bad job in Dallas.
yeah,
And so I just moved here because I was offered a job and a place to stay for a while. And then that was just the temporary gig, and then I was going to move back to Dallas and get a job, fire department job. And then I ended up really liking it here, liked the people, made some good friends. And so I decided I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to go run to burning buildings for now. And I'm just going to figure out, what I'm going to do from here on out, where it got me back into like helping the younger kids. It really got me back into like, why I liked coaching, why I
Yeah.
like really enjoyed like being around a gym again. And because I think I lost a lot of that passion when I was in Texas. And it was just more in like, how can I, that self-development trap we talked about earlier
Yeah.
today? It was like, how can I be better? How can I make more money? How can I be better at this? And I, instead of like falling into like what made me happy, I try to be like, I got to be better. And it made me miserable.
yeah.
And
Because you got too focused
and
on
so
like,
getting here and a lot of y'all like accepting like you're good already. I was like, oh
yeah, you fit right in.
yeah, and so it made me feel like, well, like maybe I'm working too hard, and so I was like, well, maybe if I take a step back, enjoy my time here, it was supposed to just be a summer vacation. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stay a little bit longer. And so since then, I started coaching again. Mainly, most of my clients are remote now. They're all remote. They're all online. One's in Florida, one's in Texas, one's in Nebraska, and those are just previous connections I've made from other spotting and loading and collegiate powerlifting and stuff like that. So
Like the collegiate powerlifting. You came from Midland, right?
yeah, Midland University. It's in Fremont, Nebraska. Do you know where that's at?
I actually have no clue.
It's
I know where Nebraska's at.
Do you really? Don't lie.
I can point in the general direction on the map.
So Omaha, Nebraska is. I'm not even going to give you a direction. There's a place called Omaha, Nebraska. You've probably heard of that.
Yeah.
And then it's like 30 minutes west,
Okay.
northwest of Omaha, Nebraska. And so it's just this small college, middle of nowhere. Just who are these people? And surprisingly, this was one of the few first colleges to like start varsity powerlifting as a program. Scholarships, not full rides yet. I think they're kind of still trying to work their way up, but the scholarships are a lot healthier now. And so it's a private college, so you don't get like the in-state, out-of-state tuition, but it's just expensive overall.
Yeah.
So, but with that, I guess with that, when I was a student at Midland, it started because like I started powerlifting my senior year of high school,
Okay.
and just for fun. I always wanted to go to college for football,
Yeah.
and if I didn't go to college for football, I was going to do military, and then I didn't get any scholarship for football. I wasn't good. That's what happened.
That's the hard part.
But they're like, well, maybe like one of my coaches was like, you ever try powerlifting? You're strong, and I ended up being like really, really good at it. I think my numbers. This is all single ply, and so my numbers were like a 515 squat, a 335 bench, and like a 550 deadlift.
How
And
much were you weighing at the time?
I was 198.
Okay.
So not much weight progress since then. I've gone up a weight class, technically two if you count the USAPL classes.
Yeah.
So, but I started there. I got seventh in the state for 198s, and I was like, I don't want to join the military. So I just kept applying to all these colleges, and nobody was accepting. My grades were bad. I wasn't an exceptional athlete, and I kept applying. And then I found this form online that said powerlifting college, and it stated like Texas A&M, Sam Houston, all the
Yeah.
Texas schools. And so I knew they didn't have scholarships, but I was like, I gotta do something. Maybe they can give me like a donation, or like a grant or something
Yeah,
if
grant.
I join a club. So I just kept applying to all these places. I applied to that form like 5 times, and I get an email one day from Coach. His name's Tim. I call him Tim. It's Coach Anderson at Midland, He said, yeah, we're starting a program. The program started the year before that, but they was really recruiting that year
Yeah.
that I was graduating. So really lucky with like timing and stuff like that. And so he said, I'm starting a program. And then I was like, well, now I don't have to go military. My parents were pissed. They're like, Nebraska? I was like, Nebraska.
Doesn't your family like kind of have that military background?
Yeah, that's where I got it from. Both my parents are military. One of my brothers went Air Force, and my other brother would have gone if his wife would have let him. But he's a good guy, so he didn't, disobey his wife. What a guy. What a card.
And you decided to do powerlifting.
And I decided to do powerlifting. And so I went there, got the scholarship. It's a small school, probably small population. I can't talk. Like, it takes 5 minutes to walk to a class. Probably not even that, to walk to your school building, to your dorm. It's not far. It's not a big campus at all. And so getting there and just really like first time moving away from state really was really hard, getting homesick and all that. And then joining the team was hard because I thought I was good. I was like, oh man, I'm so awesome.
The classic.
The classic blunder of the biggest ego of powerlifting is when like this single ply kid who barely squats 500 pounds. And then there's a guy that he recruits that benches what you squat,
Yeah.
It's like, what am I supposed to do?
Just because you were the strongest at your school doesn't mean you're the strongest in the nation.
In the nation by a long shot. I felt like I don't know the niche reference. I felt like Rock Lee, like of Naruto. I was like I have no talent. I was like I'm literally useless. And so, Coach Anderson, he recruited all these guys. We were mainly equipped, but we were also decent raw. A lot of them were decent raw guys, and we started out with a raw team, a men's raw team. That was like the first season we started going for a national championship. That's when we started the men's raw team, and that's like the longest reigning. It was the longest reigning men's raw team champion for the longest time until this past year. But he recruited this guy named Josh Peridot, just a freak of nature single ply guy that could squat 850 single ply, but he could also still squat like close to 7 raw.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was insane.
He didn't even get that much out of the suit.
Dude, he probably had more because he got super strong because we all went raw. And so all these equipped guys went raw, and we built insane raw strength. Like my squat max when I got there, raw was I think like 475, and my first meet it was 550.
How quick was that? How quick
from
was that?
August to November?
Oh wow,
It was
that's actually really.
It was a combination of a good coach, good programming, and a lot of technique fixes. Because I was doing a wide stance, toes forward, high bar squat in single ply, and that was not good for raw. And so they taught me low bar. They told me how to find my squat stance. And I think by the time April came around for collegiate nationals, I was doing 595 on squat. So that was like peak squat for me. I was like, yeah, this is great. But I was only good at squat. I think I benched like less than 300 when I got there, and they got me up to like 340 when I dirt by nationals in April. And then deadlift shot from like 500 raw to 595 raw by national from August to April. And the switch was conventional. I went from sumo to conventional, and it just clicked immediately. And so
that's like a big change.
it was a big change. And that's when I was like, maybe I am good at this, because I made such big gains. I was like, maybe I'm good. And then a lot of the other guys got really good, and we got a guy on the team that was a really good bencher. We had a lot of guys that were like really good, but they weren't national champions, but they were like top 5 at least to score points. And so we all did good. It was the first nationals 2019 in College Station. We all did really good, and we're all just there having a good time. Men's raw team, and we had girls on the team too, so it was a co-ed team. And they were there cheering us on as well, and we cheered them on. We were mainly wrapping their knees, obviously. And so if that was the first time I got of the team environment, it's like your handler was your coach, you had a handler, and then your team was out there celebrating. Like, we had this guy on the team, his name was Joe Pena. Squatted 950 raw.
He's still around, isn't he?
No, he's not. He started a family, sadly. Rest in peace, soldier. But I wish he was still around. He was one of the best. He's probably one of my best friends ever, but I just I'm bad at communicating. But he was there. And so when you have somebody like that, and like this Josh guy I was talking about, like your closest friends are also like the strongest guys in the nation, like they're cheering you on. You're like this was the first time I was like, this is the team, I would do anything for this team. And so when there was times there was their first time trying a primetime session for collegiate nationals, and it ended up being a terrible idea because everybody knew what they had to do to score points.
Yeah.
And when it comes to a team scoring environment, that's a terrible thing. You want that kind of advantage. But my total at the time didn't get me into primetime, and so I was in the earlier session, and that's when I hit all those numbers I told you earlier. And by the time the primetime was over, I got 4th place. So I was still able to like podium after that.
Yeah.
I was in first after my session, and then the primetime guys went.
Yeah.
And one of them was my guy, so I'm glad he got second. And so all those team points helped. And then, like I said, so when going back to like the team environment is like all these people cheering on you. I'm helping these girls with their knee reps. These people are cheering me on. I'm cheering them on. It's just you feed off everybody else's energy, and it gets to a point where like the meet's almost over. It's day 4 of collegiate nationals, and you're like, there's team points all of a sudden involved. Now I'm still like kind of ignorant to all this. I'm still just new guy into powerlifting, and we beat Texas A&M Kingsville, who was our biggest competitor, and we won, and we took home the first national title for Midland back in 2019, and then 2018. My bad, 2018. And then 2019 comes around, and that's Columbus, Ohio, next collegiate nationals, and so we come back. Coach wants to win multiple team titles now, so we form equipped teams now, and our women's raw team also got really developed. And so the biggest thing with that was it's when you start noticing as a teammate how many people leave between semesters or between
That's what I was going to ask, because like when you joined, you said it was like a relatively new team.
Yeah, very small.
So was it just like a bunch of people that really didn't know each other, just kind of grouped together?
Yeah, that's how it started.
Like just flat out. Like no one had like...
We had this one guy from Wisconsin, these guys from Texas, but 2 different parts of Texas. We had a guy from South Carolina. We had these girls from Alaska. Like, none of us knew each other. We weren't even following each other on Instagram. And so when we got there, you learned all these new people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very small team, luckily, when I joined, but now it's a big... I can't imagine the pressure of like being a kid on that team now.
Oh, yeah.
80 kids.
Midland's also just well known now.
Yeah, so like that pressure comes. We're like, it was a little bit easier coming in. Like nobody knows you. It's like good,
Yeah.
Cool, no pressure, sweet. If I do bad, nobody's gonna know. But so we brought in the next year, which was a big class of freshmen, and so a lot of these people stayed. A lot of people stayed from the previous year, but then throughout the semester, a lot of team drama happened, a lot of toxicity, and it was little things. Boyfriend, girlfriend, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And so it's nothing like domestic violence, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, but there was like
just the early drama.
just like, I like this guy. Well, I like him too. I'm gonna date him before you know, stupid shit like that.
So just basically young dumb stuff.
Exactly.
And it's like it's an early team, so there's no like
there's no culture yet.
Yeah, there's no culture built in yet.
Yeah, and so it was after that year we had a team rule after that, no dating on the team.
I think that's a fair rule.
Fair rule. And then eventually the team separated to men's and women's powerlifting, so to further exemplify that rule. But
so like it was co-ed before.
Yeah, it was co-ed, so we all practiced together, and we still practiced together the next year. And then in future years we had 2 separate practices, men and women.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
And so 2019 comes around, we develop the equipped teams and the women's raw team. The men's raw team goes in, kills it. Men's equipped team, we all choke, except for Austin Perkins, who was new transfer that year, equipped, and he just demolished. He does what Austin does, you know.
Yeah.
And so the other guys, as in me and this guy named Rob, we both had really bad meets. I'm not gonna lie. And like I was ranked first going into it, and that's when I was telling you about like I hate when people like look at QTs to like see where their competitors are at.
Yeah.
That was me. That's where I got it from, because I hate it when I did it, and I hate that I did it. And so it's like I got all this pressure, like I could win. Like I've never been the top guy. It's like I could win this. I could possibly bring this back, and then that's just that pressure folded me.
Yeah.
And it just made me like I had a bad day. I went 4 for 9. I got 1 squat.
Sounds like an
I
equipment.
got 1 squat, 1 bench, and 2 deadlifts. I was like, damn, we sucked. And our women's team, a lot of them were developing like better habits, as in like not cutting that much weight for meets, but a lot of them didn't. And so a lot of them made weight but suffered. And so like girls that should have won got second or third, and it cost that team the national championship. They got second. I think the men's equipped team got like fifth. Men's raw team won that year, and the women's raw team only had five people on that team. You can score up to, I think, 7 people on a team. And so most people brought full teams, especially raw. It was picking up at the time, but we only brought 5. I call them Steel Team 6, but but they won with just 5 lifters because I think 3 or 4 of them got first place. And so one of them was Chloe Dublin. Chloe Dublin nut now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then 2020 happened, COVID. Supposed to be in Pennsylvania. I was still in 93 at the time, and so I was weighing at 205 or under. And then when COVID happened, I was like, Coach, I can't gain this weight. So we decided we were going to go up. We did 2020 nationals in the first semester of the fall, but it was a big asterisk because like only a few teams showed up, and Midland swept all of them, but like nobody was there.
It was a big change.
It was a very big change. And then 2021, some teams were still restricted, but we had competition that year with University of Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was our first year of like taking this team seriously, and we all did, like, we need to win all 4 medals. This was my senior year by this time. And so by that time, we're going to win all 4 medals. We're going to go in, and just the pressure of that on the team, I think, made us better versus like in the past, the pressure of putting like all that pressure on individuals to do better. It was like, well, now my team needs me.
Well, you guys also had time to start developing.
By that time, the seniors were there for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
We were able to set a standard for all of us,
Mm-hmm.
And so we went through that year. That was such a heart-wrenching year, dude, because in a good way, because we won. We swept all divisions, but the men's titles tied, and it went down to like when you tie in collegiate powerlifting with points, you go down to how many people won medals, and then we were able to win that tiebreaker at least. But there was a year, 2021, which I also competed. We tied with UTSA at the equip side, and it went medals. We tied on medals. We tied on every single medal, gold, silver, bronze, all that stuff. And then it went down to like dots.
Oh.
And we won on dots, luckily.
Holy moly.
Yeah, like it went.
That's actually pretty crazy.
They took their top 5 scorers on each team and then combined their dots. And like UTSA, I was scared they were going to win that one because like their guys were monsters too. But we had a couple guys. His name is Charles Shuford, CJ Shuford. He was really strong, 66 kg or 67.5 at the time, I think. And we might have had him go 74. I forget. But he went in. He always wins like best lifter. He's just a small dude, but he squats like, I think he squatted like 672. Like Jesus. He's insane. And he deadlifts like over 6 and he benches over 4, I think. Like he's just a freak.
Yeah.
But so we had guys like that on our side, and I was able to get some dots with me, and then our other guy was an 83. He got dots too, and then so with that leading up, we won 2021 at Louisiana. We swept. Still an asterisk since some schools still weren't there. 2022 finally happened, and finally like whoever wins this, and we were able to sweep all those as well, and so there's no asterisk there anymore. And then 2022 happens. That's in Arlington, Texas. I'm not allowed to I use up on my eligibility. Mm-hmm. Now in 2022 I got my years mixed up. Anyway, sometime after my senior year in 2021, I became the graduate assistant for Midland University. And my past experience coaching was internships for strength conditioning as in University of North Texas in Denton. I've done small like online seminars with top Division I schools and stuff like that, and I did an internship with Midland with the strength conditioning coach, which is not also Tim. Tim's just powerlifting. So there's like a powerlifting coach and the strength conditioning coach. Tim's the sports coach of powerlifting.
That makes sense.
And we did not collaborate with strength conditioning because Tim was our powerlifting coach, and so he just had us do all that under him. But I did an internship with the main coach for strength conditioning my senior year as well. And so I transitioned into a graduate assistant in 2021 after I graduated. And the reason for that was I wanted to be a collegiate strength conditioning coach. And in order to do that, it really helps if you have a master's degree. And I still didn't have my certification, and I still didn't have money for a certification. And so I was scared to go into real life. And then Mike Zielinski.
Yeah.
He used to coach in Midland. He came in around 2020, 2021. And so when he came in, he's like, you should, I guess he saw something. He's like, you should really consider a graduate assistantship. And so I asked Tim. Tim said yes, if I can get my financial situation taken care of, as in like, paying off debts and stuff.
What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta put a pause.
Put a pause on that.
Lock the door. Nah, it's fine. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You're saying Mike.
Mike. So Mike interested me in the graduate assistant position. And then once I got the position, a graduate assistant is a glorified intern in most colleges. And at first, that's how I was treated, but not in a bad way. I was put in charge of like inventory, small stuff like that. And so Mike and Tim were the ones running the show, along with our other coach, Brian Bastille. We call him Bus. He's big man. Call him Bus for a good reason. And so when all this stuff happened with the federation separating, Mike was the spearhead for PA, and our coach Tim wanted to stay USAPL, and simply as a collegiate standpoint, because PA wouldn't have that much competitive of a collegiate nationals versus a USAPL collegiate nationals. And so with Mike kind of starting up all that stuff suddenly and like without any warning, and then he was kind of suspended from USAPL, and he wasn't allowed to coach any of us because, well, he could stay in Midland and coach, but he couldn't go to the meets and handle. Yeah. He couldn't do any of that stuff. And he wanted just like, well, I'll just stay and coach, on the sideline. It's like, nobody coaches on the sideline, Mike. Like, that's not what you do. And so we had to let him go. And so with that, Tim was the only full-time coach. Now he has me as a graduate assistant. So I took all
kind of lucked out right there.
I did. And I didn't take on the pay of an assistant coach.
No, yeah.
I took on the responsibility. And I took on all the responsibility Mike had. Google Sheets, inventory, grades, all that stuff.
With no money.
With $500 a month.
Wait, really?
Untaxed. Well, that was taxed. It was before taxes.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So it was the typical college kid thing, part-time job, school, all that stuff. And so once I did that, I developed more as a coach in that regard because Tim simply I had more responsibility on my plate. I had to step up. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to give up. Mm-hmm. So plus Tim's my guy. That's like, he's the reason I've gotten so far in life, honestly. Powerlifting and Tim Anderson. So that's my guy. I'm not going to let him down. I do my best. I try to help program during the off season. I try to do everything I can for these kids to make sure we win again. And fast forward to the end of that year, we win nationals again. We sweep. It was fun. It was a great time. We win 2022 nationals in Lombard, Illinois. 2023 comes up. That's Arlington, Texas. And I am still coach. My eligibility's up, and now I'm just full-time graduate assistant. And for Lombard, I was still an athlete. I had to juggle both of those, athlete and graduate assistant. That was tough, mentally and physically.
No, that's hard to do, especially. Were you competing at the same time as coaching?
Yeah.
Like.
So no, like when I was competing, but like the day before, even the morning of, I was coaching, wrapping knees.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, that's hard to do, is to like be able to juggle that the same day.
Yeah.
It's. I don't recommend it to anybody.
No, but I still had a great meet. I'm not gonna lie, and I haven't won a national title. I won COVID nationals, but like other than that, doesn't really count in my eyes because like it was just
no
against
other teams.
Yeah, there's no other teams. But like the guys I lost to were always like, and I'm not like trying to save face for me because I did really good too. I think I did amazing, but these guys were also like just monsters. Like we had this one guy. I think he benched like 612. In like the 105 weight class, and then the year before that, I lost to a guy that squatted like 850. Jesus. And I was just like, I was against these monsters. It was always fun though. That was part of collegiate. That was fun. It's like these were your friends afterwards. Like you talk to these guys, you see them at local meets in Texas, and I'm just like, hey,
I think it's interesting that Midland was a newer school. A lot of these schools had powerlifting teams for a while, didn't they?
Yeah, but that's the advantage of a scholarship.
But how do you think Midland just like caught up so fast?
Good coach. Tim is an excellent recruiter. And that's because we weren't the first school to offer scholarships. That was McKendree University out of Lebanon, Illinois. And have you heard of them?
Nope.
So there's other schools, Ottawa University out of Kansas, and then Ottawa University out of Arizona.
Both Ottawas, huh?
Both Ottawa, they're sister schools.
Oh, okay, that makes
connected
sense.
but not connected.
Yeah.
There was William Jewell, Missouri Valley, both from Missouri. And I'm sure there's another one. There's a one up now in Michigan called Davenport University in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, I know.
But I mean, all those schools offer scholarships. How come you don't hear them winning? Or how come they're not sharing the glory with us? How come they're not our top competitors? They cycle coaches all the time. They always get the work. They don't hire that well, or the coach doesn't like it there, and they write off. Like where we've had Tim all these years since he started the team back in 2016.
That makes sense.
And so another thing was schools don't allow, and this is a big thing with strength conditioning too. They don't really admin doesn't really allow a lot of power to their sports or their strength conditioning coaches and stuff like that. They like to make the decision. So like in powerlifting, in the case of powerlifting, it's like they gave Tim full reign. It's like, what do you want?
Oh, okay.
What do you want? I want Alico racks, weights, my own weight room, this, and that. They're like, cool. As long as you promise,
didn't try to micromanage.
as long as you promise us a national championship, I promise. And the next year we got one. And then the other thing with schools is like they try to micromanage, or like they say like, we can't do that for you, or we can't do that. Or another thing, a lot of other collegiate coaches get caught with lying about scholarships. And so it's like, we're going to give you this. And then they never actually do. Or we offer scholarships, but it's a softball scholarship because you also happen to be good at softball. But don't worry, just sign on as softball and then just quit and come to powerlifting. Your scholarship carries over. So your school doesn't have powerlifting scholarships, Oh,
okay.
Or it's just,
I see what you're saying.
Or it's purely academic. These scholarships.
Mm-hmm. But it's not actually.
It's not actually where like Midland, you're good at powerlifting, you get a powerlifting scholarship. And then like if you get good grades, that adds on to it. But like you are a powerlifter at Midland.
I think it's just so fascinating, just like how quickly Midland just came up and dominated.
So, like I said, when it comes to recruiting, Tim recruited the right people, but he also, like you always talk about with Bob and Tammy here, just putting into that work ethic, that atmosphere, everything. Tim did all that by himself, and so he held us to a high standard, not a low tolerance for bull crap, and we all followed it to a T. We trusted him. He didn't do anything special, but we trusted him, this guy with our lives. Like, we wanted to win a national title. Tim was going to take us there. We didn't want anybody else. I'm sure if anybody else was running that team, it wouldn't be a thing, in my opinion. Like, nobody would do everything that Tim did, in my opinion. And so
he has a lot of passion behind it.
A lot of passion, a lot of trust. And, like, his background was bench presser. He's a world-level bench presser. He loved being an athlete, but his favorite aspect was being on the team, the USA America team. And so he wanted to bring that to the next generation. How do you do that? Collegiate powerlifting. And so with that, he wanted to incite all of us to move to bring this to the future as well. Team powerlifting, collegiate powerlifting, that passion that he had as being a part of a team and coaching a team eventually, he wanted to bring that into us. And I think he really instilled that into me very, very fast when I was a collegiate powerlifter. And so it's just one of those things where like you have a lot of good talented lifters that they all have the same goal, and we won't take no for an answer. It wasn't just like, oh, we're good, we're gonna walk in because we're good. It's like we were relentless in training too. We trained hard, we pushed each other hard. The team environment, it's an individual sport. You want to do your best, but your team was there to hold you accountable. You're not squatting to depth.
I feel like that makes a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. It's honestly the make or break difference I've had in my career.
It's like that old West Side saying where it's like, if your teammate's not getting stronger, neither are you.
Neither are you. And so like, even like Joe, I'd be like, hey man, I left your brace on that 900-pound squat. He's like, yeah, I felt it. Thanks for telling me. I didn't know if I actually did or not. So it's like, I always tell you, you're not squatting to, we're brutally honest. You didn't squat to depth. You didn't touch your bench on your shirt. You're hitching your deadlift. Nothing got by us. So like, we were held to such a high standard. But when we got to the meets, a lot of these newer college teams or newer college lifters, or even like the experienced ones, they don't have that discipline, and that's what
they lacked all that accountability,
and that's how we won. We might not have had the strongest lifters, but we had the discipline and the accountability from our teammates that pushed us to be better. And so that's something that I've always been big on in my own life. It's just like I got to watch myself. I got to watch my guys and make sure they're doing good. And so that's how I would say, rose to the top. Even against higher level talent, like they lacked that, and they would make small mistakes that we would take advantage of.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. It's the team aspect of powerlifting, I think, doesn't get talked about enough.
No.
I think it's like a huge part of the sport.
And I think a lot of it has to do with bad coaches, personally. It's such a new thing. It's hard to find a coach that's qualified for this because there's really nobody qualified for it other than whoever's doing it right now. Mm-hmm. And those guys are kind of settled in where they're at. And so a good coach can really make or break a team. And a lot of coaches like McKendry, they started outsourcing their coaching to online coaches.
That doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't make sense because, like, isn't your coach supposed to coach you? You know?
But then now it's not really
a team.
Yeah, it's not a team.
It's not.
I think what's really cool is just like you guys always practice together. You guys always like everything was together.
I mean, we ate together. Like right after we trained, we'd go to the cafeteria. We ate together, and we'd see each other in our dorm rooms. We hung out together. It was a family, and that's the promise Midland gives to people. It's a promise to be a part of doesn't promise you. We hope you become a national champion. We hope you become this amazing lifter. The promise is that you will be a part of a team that you will remember for a lifetime. And that's really like how we sell it to people. And that's what sold me is like, I can create this family. Mm-hmm. And for me, being a part of a family that was kind of falling apart back home, being able to develop a new one, I was just like all for it. I was like, me and my guys can make this now. And so that it's like I said, that high standard, we held to that, and it just blossomed since then. And they're still achieving today. Last year they won 3 national championships. They only got second in the men's raw division to UTSA, who have a lot of good hitters as well. And so
isn't the equip side just killing it? Yeah,
and so the thing with UTSA is that they're mainly an equipped team, mm-hmm. but they decided to put all their best equipped lifters into the raw division, and they already had good raw lifters too. So just stacked both of those teams together. If they were to split it, I don't think they would have won. Like that's what they try to beat us at one or the other by splitting, but they stacked them all in one. They took our weakest team, which at the year was our men's raw team, because a lot of our graduates just left. Mm-hmm. And so they stacked it against that. We're still able to walk out with second. It was still close by like a few points, I think. And then the other teams just swept. And since UTSA separated into just raw, our men's equipped team was able to truck through. But there's another school called Blue Mountain College University. It's in Mississippi. They offer powerlifting scholarships. Now, this is another school that offers real powerlifting scholarships, not academics, not another sport. Oh, excuse me. And they have a real good coach there too. His name is Gerald. He's a really good guy, and I hope he brings that. He's brought that program up so far, but they were able to compete against us in the men's and women's equipped division, and I mean, on the equipped side, that's our main competitor. Be UTSA, Blue Mountain College, University of Louisiana Lafayette. Every now and then you get a Texas A&M or the Navy or something like that come and bring a team, but those guys don't have the retention I guess we have. A lot of in and out with a lot of those clubs because, their main thing is school.
Yeah, that's not really the powerlifting that they're focused on.
Exactly. And so the cool thing would be to bring a scholarship through a lot more schools, but right now it's only local NAIA private colleges right now in the Midwest, and then got one over here in Arizona all of a sudden,
Yeah.
And so it's making its rounds. I hope more things happen because of it, but I think it'll be a while before a Division I school is like, yeah, we can do this. And I don't know why, but it's just not possible at the moment. And I think to me, my hypothesis is just we lack connections to that power.
I think a lot of it has to do with like the NCAA and stuff like that.
I'm sure there's rules to like creating a new sport under NCAA because like we're all NAIA schools, the scholarship teams are, but we follow USAPL rules in terms of eligibility, rules of like recruiting and stuff like that. We follow the USAPL collegiate rules, but like the only like Midland rule we followed was like you got to pass this class, you got to have this GPA, so you're not disqualified for the next semester. Like
Yeah.
that was it. Versus like you have all that with Midland, and then the NAI is also like for football. I think you need to just like you might need to have this like special cert or the specification for you to compete under us. Be in good stand with your school, stuff like that. And so if we go NCAA, we might not be it might be under a new federation of NCAA PL,
Yeah, that would
which would just probably adopt USAPL or PAL, and so PAA. I don't know why I said PAL, but they would probably just adopt those rules anyway. But that's probably what it would be. It'd just be another just a strict collegiate federation, NCAA PL.
It's
probably.
still taking like a long time for that to happen. But it seems like it's progressed quite a bit.
It's progressed quite a bit. To have a scholarship for this sport is already huge.
It kind of seems like, my opinion, when Midland started picking up, everything in college started picking up.
Well, yeah, because all of a sudden this school in the middle of Nebraska is beating Texas A&M and Ohio State.
And Texas is known for
it's powerlifting. Yeah. How come they're not winning? How come they're not winning How come the school in Nebraska is winning?
They even have their own high school division.
Yeah.
That's how big powerlifting is.
THSPA, yeah. That was an insane division, dude. We were just cattle. They wrote numbers on our arms, said 436, you're up. Yes, sir.
That's so wild.
Dude, we didn't have names. We were numbers, dude. It was funny.
They just treat it like it's just Texas.
Just like ranchers. Come on in. Yeah, he's good. All right, go. Yeah, that's all it was, man. But yeah, it's like, well, how come the school in the middle of Nebraska is killing it and we're not? Well, we need to open a school now, but that hasn't picked up in Texas. And there's plenty of NAIA, even Division II schools have done it, I think, but they just haven't done it in Texas yet. And I feel like the moment you open a powerlifting scholarship college in Texas, no matter who it is, it could be Dallas Baptist. You never heard of them? They're NAIA, I think. And so once that opens, like, well, all these Texas kids don't have to travel to Fremont, Nebraska now. They can just go to Dallas. Sounds like a win to us. That team would probably win despite the coach.
Yeah.
And so there's all that. But, I mean, going to things like coaching for Midland, man, like it was rough at first because like when I got in there, that was when the team really blew up, and we still had retained a lot of kids from last year and brought in another big class. I think we had like 85 kids.
That's a lot for a powerlifting team.
Yeah, it was a lot. And so the thing is, you always know some of those kids are going to leave that semester. You always know some kids are going to leave after the first week. Homesickness, actual sickness, grades aren't going.
Or just heart's not in it.
And so a lot of those kids will leave, that, but like we have 80 kids there. How do we make this happen? And moving on in the future, we've gotten better at regulating individual athletes while still following like a sound program. And it was like, it's harder to describe even compared to like strength conditioning for college because you have more athletes in strength conditioning. You have every sport. So you don't only have the 60-man football roster. You have the 20 women and men that do basketball and the 20 women and men that do baseball and softball. And you're wondering, like, how can I coach all these kids individually? You just can't. It's too massive a number. And so we separated into things like sport, position, sport, and injury. Like, you're not going to train a wide receiver the same way you train an offensive lineman. You're not going to treat a prop in a rugby the same way you treat a winger. And so you'd find out what position, what they need. You kind of separated them like that. It was still a mass program, but for a little bit smaller of a group. And then you had a bunch of programs like that. And where in powerlifting, like we're all powerlifting. We're all getting ready for the same meets. We're all trying to like figure out what's best for everybody. And so every now and then you throw in a variation for this one kid that needs help. And then their friends kind of might want to do it with them. So it's like, okay, yeah, go do that like a pod
It seems
squat.
like it would be hard to see like with a big group like that.
It is. And we have to get to the point where like you can't hit your top set unless a coach is watching you. And so there was only 3 of us. Yeah. There's only 3 of us. We videoed everything, but we might have to hit a set after that. Because we had some kids that were hyper progressor. Like they just progressed so much.
Yeah.
Like if they kept doing what they were doing, they would get no stimulus. And so, because
I see.
They just progressed so far. So like
they'll just get stuck.
Yeah, and so this helped us regulate like not just the daily, but like next week, because we would go back and we use My Strength Book. That's a app sponsored a USAPL, but like we were using it for this team, so it's like a mass program productor kind of thing, kind of like my train heroic.
Yeah.
And so we were using my strength book, and we'd go in every day, watch videos. Before me and Tim mainly, because we were the only full-time guys there, we'd go, like, let's say a squat day. Me and Tim would come in at 11 and just watch everybody squat, all videos all day, prepping everybody's program to what they got to do today. This guy might need a deload. He's kind of fried. Turns out that kid's also getting drunk every weekend and is not sleeping well. That's probably why he's fried. This kid's doing everything right. He's he's super progressive, and so we need to probably either add more sets or add more weight, something. But so we got better at that individually as it went, and it got better with, I would say, with me around, because it wasn't just Tim, and we could separate. I got raw, or I got the women this week, and he's got the men, or he's got the equipped. So we were able to separate like that. And what really got funky was the first semester, because we'd have like 3 groups of kids doing 3 different meets. We'd have the equipped kids going down to Texas. We'd have some equipped kids in Nebraska. We have this raw meet over in Ohio all of a sudden.
And so trying to plan all that together.
Try to plan all that. So like we would separate the coaches individually. So like I remember one time I took like a group of 6 kids to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and that was fun. I had 6 kids, and then Tim had all the Texas lifters that were going equipped, and Bus had all the Nebraska lifters going equipped. And so we would all just watch all that and everything. And so that was like the big struggle when it came to like programming for such a large team. And there's still some hiccups, and there's still some things that we can get better at. But every year we've gotten a little bit better at making sure every kid gets what they need, And so that was the biggest struggle.
I think it's interesting, like looking out for someone who's like getting drunk every weekend or something.
Dude, I mean, and nobody snitched on each other.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a culture of tattletales or nothing. You could tell. There's signs.
Yeah.
This kid's sad today. His girlfriend from back home just broke up with him. Probably cheated on him. Like,
Jesus.
Like, that's usually what it ends up being. Sorry. But, like, it's like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, well, now we know why he's not into it. His heart's out of it. And this kid's probably going to drop out, sadly. Like, you see a lot of those signs, and you can just tell, like, skin gets paler. This person starts gaining a lot of weight. They're not taking care of themselves outside the gym, you start noticing those things. And I think we had weekly weigh-ins as well for our team. So like, if you were above weight, we always had to get onto you, like, and not like 2 or 3 pounds above. It's like, there's this one person, they were like 20 pounds over. And we're like, hey, guess what? You're not cutting weight this meet. You're going to stay in the next weight class because you obviously can't handle it. So stuff like that. And Tim's background, I think, flowed well with me because he was a sheriff's deputy. And so he's had that very proper, very military, etiquette. And I grew up military. And so, like, we kind of bounced off each other. But we weren't trying to run a boot camp. We're trying to make a family. But a family that held each other to a good standard. And at some point, the kids stop holding themselves to a high standard. So every now and then you got to kind of reintroduce that back to people. And so with that, it's just like you're laying this slip. We never compare them to the past teams because every team's different every year. So we're not going to be like, you're not like the last generation. You're not like that's just like a slap in the face. It's like, y'all used to hold yourselves to such a high standard. What has happened this year? What's going on? And then it typically ends up being like team drama, and the team's separated into like 3 cliques, and it's like, we hate this person. We like this person. We don't like either of you. And so that's usually what the drama ends up being, but
just a bunch of pettiness.
Yeah, dude. And Tim really installed into us, and a lot of us do this, is giving back to the sport, and that really built camaraderie too. A lot of us became USAPL referees. A lot of us became spotter and loaders at our local state and state meets, And so, being a good person for the sake of being a good person, just giving back and allowing everybody to just like show that like not just Midland is good, but like I'm a good person. I enjoy doing this. I like spotting and loading. I really do. It's hard work, and I get some money out of it now, but like I genuinely enjoy doing it because I know if I'm spotting and loading, the lifters are going to get a good experience.
Yeah.
They're going to get the right weights on the bar. I'm not going to cheat them out of a bench rep they're grinding out. And if we got good referees from Midland, then they're going to probably be in good hands too. It's giving back for the sake of like preparing. Tim prepared the next generation for when he and somebody else retires, and all of a sudden all the old guys can't run USAPL or PA anymore, So like, who's got to step up? Well,
yeah.
Tim's like the only one that took that into account and actually like taught the younger generation. And so
I think that's a big thing. It's
it's
just
a
like
big deal because a lot of people don't
showing.
teach that. A lot
Yeah.
of gatekeeping in this sport. For such a niche sport,
It's
there's too
completely
much
unnecessary.
too much gatekeeping.
You should always be ready to like push the next generation.
Hmm. And so that's how we kind of turn the individual sport into a team sport by you act as a team outside the gym. In the gym, obviously, but like outside the gym, you have to build that camaraderie. You have to go. We volunteered. There was a flood effort. What was it called? Nebraska flooded back in 2019. Big flood. Everywhere flooded except for Fremont, Nebraska, for some reason. And it's because we're built on a hill, the only hill in Nebraska. And so after the flood happened, we sent out a couple of volunteer squads to help with the flood effort. Mainly packing up box trucks with canned goods. That's really all we did. But stuff like that, we did it together though. We spot and loaded in meets in South Dakota, bench nationals in South Dakota, bolt youth or no, what was it? High school nationals in Colorado. We would send teams out for that, and so that's how we would give back. It's just like we would help as much as we can. We held ourselves to a high standard no matter what. That's where and you saw Vince and Ray spotting and loading. Like I didn't have to tell them how to do that. That's how we do it at Midland. That's how we all are. And so that's how you turn an individual sport into a team sport. You just make sure you're all on the same page, hold yourself accountable to their own individual efforts, and whenever you have a chance to, build some team bonding through some hard work, through some watching TV, because if you don't spend time with that team outside the gym, you probably won't see each other. Like it's easy to just stay in your dorm room and just ponder and get homesick and then go back to Texas. A lot of Texans do that. They get homesick and then they leave after first semester. It's only a Texan issue.
I mean, I got homesick when I was in Texas.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Austin, brother. I'd be upset too. And we were I think we were in a good part of Austin. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know anything.
I don't
about
know
Austin.
anything about Texas.
Oh, it's Texas. It's big for no reason.
I mean, I can see the bonding thing because when we were spotting and loading in Texas.
You saw how that was.
Yeah. They did not like leave each other's side.
No, I brought in 3 squads. It was Tamara brought Reno, and I brought in my guy Jake.
Yeah.
and then I also brought in Giovanni too. I forgot about Giovanni, but Nebraska from Midland, and I brought in some guys from TSS from Texas, San Antonio, and so all these guys from different spots and different things, but we all powerlift, and we're all about to do this thing that's gonna suck. Might as well make the best of it. And so like some guys, yeah, they drank every night.
Jesus,
some guys, we just hung out in our rooms and we just watched TV. Like whatever you gotta do, but like you can't do stuff like that without you got to have a couple laughs. You got to have a couple drinks. You got to have some fun in the pool or something, So things like that really help. And like you said, you just saw an aspect of that with the spotting and loading and how the Midland guys got along with everybody, really. And so that's what we try to bring.
Yeah.
A good light from it. So
it's kind of crazy, actually. Seeing, because I didn't really know about Midland back then.
I mean, your background here is with PA, and you're in Reno, Nevada, and why would you have anything to do with collegiate powerlifting? It makes sense.
No, I'm not. Nothing to do with even college. I mean, sort of. No, I just didn't realize that was like such a big thing. And then seeing that team aspect where like they literally did everything together. Even us, like we tend to do like a lot of stuff together, but it was like just different. It was just a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I think what helps is a lot of us are not from Nebraska. Vince is from Nebraska. Giovanni's from Texas. I'm from Texas. Ray's from Great Britain. Most of them are from Texas. Some of us are from Wisconsin, Florida, Washington, New York, Pennsylvania, California. We got everybody from everywhere. And so there's a point where everybody's homesick. And I've gotten really good at traveling because of, I think, my experience at Midland. It's like you are homesick. You miss your mom and dad. You miss what they did for you and stuff like that. But now you got your brothers here. And it's either make friends with everybody and have a good time or be by yourself. Not have a bad time, but like you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You're isolated. You self-isolated yourself. And so what would you rather go with? Try to make friends in this college for the next 4 years or just hopefully you can get by in the next 4 years. So we did everything. When we traveled to nationals, we'd always be with our squads. And when we got there, we were all home, so we didn't know anybody. So it's just like, well, now I gotta make these friends, and so do everything. And it's a small school, so there's not much to do except go out, cafeteria, maybe the local food, the restaurant, play basketball on the side. You had nothing better to do, so there's a lot of opportunity to spend time together.
It's kind of crazy how you just right after that Austin trip just got lumped into us.
Yeah, dude. So that was funny because so I was working as a mover in Dallas. I was at Einstein Moving. That's what Einstein, smartest movie you'll ever make. And so we were movers, and we get there. So it started off in bench nationals in Austin back in January or February this year.
January.
January. And so I got there. First time I met Tamara, first time I met y'all, first time I met the TSS guys, and the first time I brought, that was Jake's first powerlifting meet.
Yeah.
He's not a powerlifter. I needed a guy that worked hard, and I was like, I know a guy. And then so I brought all these guys. We had a great time. Everything went super smooth. The breakdown, the setup, everything was awesome. And so I think Tamara, she said like, well, you direct these guys really good. I would like you in Reno. Came down to Reno in March to help with Open Nationals. That went really smooth, I would say, other than like spotters and loaders not showing up.
Yeah, but we got that figured out.
But we figured it out. And so the teardown went smooth. For how big that meet is, everything went very smooth, I would say. And so after that, I think Tamara, she must have saw something. Is like, we would like to have you here. And like I said, I wasn't considering it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was fire department. And then a lot of things happened in that year in Texas after I graduated, after I left Midland. So lost my ex-girlfriend, broke up with me. Beef had a broken leg. Family was moving around. Parents' divorce got finalized. I'm in this shitty job. I can't afford a place. I'm living with my brother. Nothing's going right. Like, I felt like I was in a hole. And the only way that I could fix this hole was get a job that starts at $80K, which is fire department.
Yeah.
And so that's why I decided to go there. I was like, I like saving lives. I bet I would. I bet I'd be good at it, but it's not what I wanted to do. It's like, what's going to pay the bills right now?
Kind of circumstance.
Yeah. And so when my brother moved out, like I said, I'm a single guy. I have a cat, and I can't afford to live in Dallas by myself on $20 an hour. That's what I was working for as a mover. And so I called Tamara back. I was like, hey, is this still on the table? And she's like, oh, yeah, for sure. And so I needed a place. I wasn't finna be homeless, so I was like, I needed a place. So I was just going to chill here till then. And then, like I said, just me and you guys getting to know y'all a little bit closer, coaching the younger kids again, getting like kids like Ollie and Masa and stuff like that, teaching you single ply, little things like that. I was just like, oh man, I remember I liked this. It's the learning curves, I liked like when everybody has their eureka moment,
Yeah.
And so it really got me back into coaching because I had a big burnout after I left Midland too. I didn't want to coach. I didn't want to compete. I didn't want to train. I didn't want to go to the gym or anything. Like I did it for so long, for so hard, and at the end it gave me nothing.
The
burnout hurt hard. And so, and at the end of it all, I was a mover. So, and then when I got here, I was like, it is worth something. It's not worth, it's not about the money anymore. Like money will come.
Yeah.
If you like what you're doing, money will come. And I'm glad I'm not saying that as a guy that's super rich. But I am saying that as a guy that like doesn't have too many bills to pay at the moment. But like I also don't have money to go out and just like, I don't go drinking every weekend because I'd be broke. I can't afford jewelry. I can't afford new clothes all the time. Like
it's all frivolous.
The money comes later on, but like I enjoy what I'm doing.
You gotta love what you do.
You got to. And so like I didn't understand that as a kid at all. It's like it's all about the money. You got to go where the money is, and you'll be happy because of that. And so now I'm realizing I'm still kind of getting into it, but like I like coaching. I like being a mentor and teaching. I want to teach the next generation to be as cool as I want to be as cool as Tim was, And so I want to do that for the next generation. And so how do I do that? Well, I got to stop worrying about my own financial situation. I just got to live with what I'm living with right now and just teach the lessons I've learned along the way. And so that's what I try to do, like when somebody like Ollie gets down, I try to be like, hey man, it happens. Things like you, Blake, already do, it's just like, hey guys, like this is just going to happen. You want to stay in the sport I want these kids to stay in the sport because they're talented. Ollie could be really good, he is really good, but like he could be even better. But it's just like you got that young learning curve. You got to get over that, you know. So
Understanding that the hardships are going to happen.
it's part of the game.
And you're not going to be perfect.
No.
And just being able to teach that, especially through like showing them experience, showing them like your experience.
Yeah.
And understanding like, look, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's going to be probably really shitty quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it will like you will continuously get better if you just stick with it.
Yeah. Like a lot of the kids that I used to coach after Legions, they reached out to me. They're like, hey, you did awesome. Way to bounce back after the Arnold. I bombed out the Arnold.
Yeah.
Equipped. And then I came out and did a really good raw meet. And they're like, way to bounce back. You did awesome. I was like, thank you, man. I appreciate that. You know, like these kids do look up to you. Like, and these kids look up to y'all here too. You know, so whatever you do, they're watching is what I've always been taught. And they watch pretty seriously.
Yeah, especially like kids these days watch heavily.
Mm-hmm.
They're very invested.
They're watching every move. Somebody gives you a little bit of pushback, they want to see how you react. They're watching your facial expression and everything, man.
I don't know if it's always been like that, but it just feels like
so.
Nowadays they watch very heavily.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're big on. I think they're big on affirmations. They're big on putting a label on everything too. And so like they want this cool guy that's at the gym that's got some years under his belt to be like, good job, man. They want that big man.
Yeah, they want that recognition.
They want that affirmation. And plus, what was the other thing I said? Affirmation and oh well. Anyway.
I forgot already.
Yeah, same. Anyway, they're gonna watch what you do. They're gonna find out. They want to find out who's the biggest guy, who are the coolest guys in this gym, and they want to really appeal to those guys. So they'll do anything to make sure, like, not to make sure we're happy, but like when we say something, they're like, "Oh, hey, that means a lot." Actually, coming from you, you know, guys like you, and so I think it really means a lot to these guys, especially since they're still pretty new to the sport.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Like being able to show them like what they're doing is actually working.
Yeah,
like,
man. I'm really bad at compliments, personally. Like
receiving or giving?
Both.
Sweet.
I've gotten a lot better at giving compliments.
Yeah.
And I've tried my best to get better at receiving. But like, hate to say it, but like I brush shit off. I take it into heart, but I brush, it's not a big deal. But like that's still something I gotta get better at. But like giving compliments. I was so big on feedback, criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point I was like, I haven't told these kids they've been good lately. You know, like I haven't told them like they've been awesome. They've been working as a great team lately. And one time I did, and it was like shining to their face. I was like, man, I need to do this more. Like I'm obviously missing something in my game that I could be better at. And so I tried focusing on that. And through here, I found out if I give a lot of these kids compliments, you know, I think they really enjoy that. And they might listen a little bit better because like,
I think that goes a long way.
yeah, dude.
I mean, the old football idea of like you don't ever give compliments.
I think that's where I got a lot of my ideals from football.
I think
Texas high school football.
Personally, I think all that's wrong.
It is. It's not sportsman.
I remember like playing football and like coaches never giving compliments and just being like, "This sport fucking sucks.
Yeah,
I hate this. Like, this is dumb."
Yeah.
And then, you know, going into a sport like this where no one's really giving me compliments aside from like the occasional comment at the gym, but that occasional comment at the gym is actually like
means so much.
Yeah, it actually does.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thanks. I'm glad somebody noticed. Somebody noticed my hard work.
Yeah,
and I wasn't looking for attention, but since I got it, I'm pretty appreciative of it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so giving that to those kids and like just that, and it's crazy because you see it just through like social media in general.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at some of these kids, they are always encouraging each other.
Yes.
Constantly. Like there is never like really any animosity.
Mm-hmm.
They are constantly always saying good job.
Especially here, like these kids don't even go to the same high school. It's not like they're in the it's not like they all go to UNR and have different class. These kids don't even live in the same city, and they meet up here and they love each other. It's insane. It's so cool to see.
They all come from completely different backgrounds.
Yeah, they're like, this is their Midland to me. You know, my Midland. This is their Midland, and it's like this is where they get to see their friends, do what they love the most, and maybe even go get a burger afterwards. You know, so it's like it's the best thing I think for like. I wish I had something like this when I was in high school. Honestly, this would have been great.
Yeah, I wish I did too.
You just didn't know about it.
No, yeah. I mean, I was in high school, 12 years ago?
Jesus Christ. What was that, 89?
Right, no. A long time ago. But, I mean, I didn't even really know much about powerlifting back then either. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think a big lesson I learned from Tim is and he doesn't really like say it in these words, but this is how I take it. It's just like, he's like, be a good person for the sake of being a good person, you know, like
That's how everyone should be.
it should be, you know, but a lot of people, they're good and expect a gift afterward. They expect the universe to work for them, but bad people do bad things and still get something good out of it. So you should act good, not for a reward, because that's still selfish. That's like false niceness. That's false politeness. Be nice and don't expect anything out of that, you know. Be nice, be a good person. If something comes out of it, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
You should get enough reward out of it knowing that you did the right thing and that you were a good enough person.
I think.
And so instilling that into 50 kids on a powerlifting team, it changes. So like a lot of our alumni, a lot of them gone on to law enforcement. A lot of them gone on to become business owners. I went on to be a mover, you know,
Yeah,
but
dichotomy.
yeah, exactly. But, you know, but really put that into us, I think was the biggest thing. It's like, you try hard for the sake of being better for yourself, you know, like in a selfish, but yet least selfish way possible. You should want to be better for the sake of being better, not because you want to get this girl, not because you want these numbers, but because you know it's right.
Yeah.
So
That makes perfect sense.
yeah, but that's my experience. That's how I got here.
It's like it was a very long road.
Yeah, it was a very long road. A lot of bumps. So
We're like extremely happy you're here.
appreciate it. Man.
And like, yeah, I'm glad when you told me that you were just choosing to decide to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty awesome because it was like the first time in a while I've had like a consistent training partner.
Yeah.
And you've been teaching me single ply. It's been like helping a lot. And it's like kind of re-sparked that fire in me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always trained and stuff, but like, and I love coaching and everything, but
To train a little bit harder.
yeah, to train a little bit harder, kind of push something that's new to me.
Yeah, I get that.
And then showing me that, wow, I suck at this.
No, nobody sucks at this.
And just
Nobody really excels at. I mean, they're just numbers. That's just how you measure how much force you put into it, right? As long as you're putting the effort in, you're doing good, you know?
Introducing me to the cursed squat suit.
Yeah, that thing. I bombed out the Arnold with that thing, and I don't think it's possible. You have to be a specially built human being to hit depth in
No
that.
one's hit depth in it.
You have to be built like Owen, the deadlift guy,
Yeah, he might.
but like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Because like the short torso, like that's the only time I can think somebody could wear that suit.
It's way too tight.
It's way too tight in the straps, man.
But no, I think we all love having you here. And it's like, you definitely fit in with all of us. And it's definitely brought in like, just something very refreshing.
Good. I'm glad I can bring that, man.
And I mean, you've just hopped on the podcast, filling in with all the episodes.
Yeah. What was the first? It was me, you, and Blake.
I think
Was
so.
that the first? I was
Was
just
it?
like, I don't know. Anyway, just like, hey, here I am. All of a sudden,
Yeah, but you know, it worked out.
cool.
Well, any final thoughts?
Be a good person. Be kind.
All right. Thanks for watching.